Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the massive alien ship that had just appeared in front of them. The vessel was 10 times larger than anything humans had ever built, its dark surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with an inner light. Jake's hands gripped the armrest of his captain's chair as his crew waited in silence for his orders. "Sir, they're hailing us," said Lisa Grant from the communication station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the nervousness underneath. This was it. First contact with an alien species. Everything humanity had dreamed about and feared was about to happen. "Put them through," Jake said, straightening his uniform. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that definitely wasn't human. The alien had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on its face, and its skin looked like polished stone. It wore what appeared to be some kind of military uniform, covered in medals and insignias. "I am Commander Zalthar of the Velkari Empire," the alien said, its voice translated by their computer into perfect English. "You are the species known as humans from the planet you call Earth. We have been watching you for some time now." Jake felt his heart pounding but kept his expression neutral. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of Earth's exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your people." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace, how quaint. Let me explain your situation, human. The Velkari Empire has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 of your years. We control 12 species, 73 worlds, and more resources than your primitive mind can comprehend. You have 2 choices. Submit to our rule and become vassals of the Empire, or refuse and be destroyed. You have one of your weeks to decide." Lisa stood up from her station, her face flushed with anger. "You can't just show up and demand we surrender our freedom. We've never even met you before." Zalthar's 4 eyes focused on her. "Your freedom? You think you have freedom? You are barely capable of traveling between stars. Your weapons are crude. Your technology is laughable. I will demonstrate our power so you understand the futility of resistance." The screen changed, showing one of the nearby moons. Jake watched in horror as a beam of pure energy shot from the Velkari ship, striking the moon's surface. The entire celestial body shook, then began to break apart. Within seconds, the moon that had orbited peacefully for billions of years was reduced to fragments and dust. "That moon was uninhabited," Zalthar said calmly. "Next time it will be one of your cities. Deliver your answer to these coordinates in 1 week. Choose wisely, humans." The screen went dark. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Jake turned to his crew. "Lisa, send a priority message to Earth. Tell them everything. We're going home." The journey back to Earth took 3 days, but it felt like an eternity. Jake spent most of that time in his quarters thinking about what he had seen. The casual way Zalthar had destroyed that moon like it was nothing. The arrogance in his voice. The certainty that humans would simply surrender. When they finally reached Earth orbit, Jake was immediately summoned to an emergency meeting at the United Nations. He walked into a room filled with world leaders, military commanders, and scientists. At the head of the table sat President Helen Carter, looking tired but determined. "Captain Morrison," she said, "we've reviewed your report. We've also detected the Velkari fleet positioning itself at the edge of our solar system. They're waiting for our answer." Jake took his seat and looked around the room. "Madam President, members of the Council, I need to be honest with you. These aliens are far more advanced than we are. The power they displayed was beyond anything we can currently match. But there's something else you need to know. They're arrogant. They've never been challenged before. They expect us to simply give up." Admiral Chris Bennett, head of Earth's combined military forces, leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Captain?" "I'm suggesting we don't give them what they expect," Jake said. "I'm suggesting we fight." Several people in the room began talking at once. Stephen Hughes, the diplomat who had negotiated peace between nations for the past 20 years, shook his head. "Fight? You just said they destroyed a moon like it was nothing. We'd be wiped out in hours." "Maybe," Jake admitted, "but I've been thinking about this for 3 days straight. The Velkari have ruled for 10,000 years. They've conquered 12 species. Do you know what that tells me? It tells me those species surrendered. They saw the demonstration of power and gave up. But what if we don't? What if we make them actually fight for it?" "That's suicide," someone said from the back of the room. Jake stood up, his voice growing stronger. "No, surrendering is suicide. Just slower. Think about it. If we become their vassals, we'll never be free again. Our children will grow up as subjects of an alien empire. Our technology, our culture, everything that makes us human will be controlled by them. At least if we fight for something that matters. President Carter raised her hand for silence. I want to hear from our military experts. Admiral Bennett, what are our chances if we engage the Velkari in combat? Bennett looked down at his tablet, then back up at the room. Honestly? Almost zero. But Captain Morrison has a point. We don't know how good they actually are at fighting. They might have all this technology, but if they've never had to use it in real combat, they might not be as unbeatable as they think. Dr. Karen Bishop, one of Earth's leading physicists, spoke up. I've been analyzing the data from their demonstration. Their weapon uses a form of energy we've never seen before, but it follows physical laws. That means we can potentially defend against it, or even develop countermeasures. It won't be easy and it won't be quick, but it's possible. Lisa Grant, who had accompanied Jake to the meeting, added her thoughts. I watched Zalthar's face when I stood up to him. He was surprised. I don't think anyone has challenged them in a very long time. Maybe that's an advantage we can exploit. The debate went on for hours. Some argued for surrender, saying it was better to live as vassals than die as heroes. Others argued for negotiation, hoping to find a middle ground. But slowly a consensus began to form. The people in that room, representing all of humanity, decided that freedom was worth fighting for. Finally, President Carter called for a vote. When it was done, the decision was made. Earth would not surrender. Captain Morrison, the president, said, I'm promoting you to Admiral. You'll work with Admiral Bennett to coordinate our defense. We have 1 week to prepare for war. Jake felt the weight of that responsibility settle on his shoulders. Madam President, I need to make one more recommendation. Let me respond to Zalthar personally. Let me deliver our answer. What will you tell him? She asked. Jake smiled, though there was no humor in it. I'll tell him to come and take it. The next 6 days were a blur of activity. Every military base on Earth went into overdrive. Ships that had been designed for exploration were hastily fitted with weapons. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies. Regular people volunteered by the millions to help in any way they could. Jake coordinated everything from the newly established Earth Defense Command. He barely slept, surviving on coffee and determination. Lisa worked beside him, managing communications and intelligence gathering. They learned everything they could about the Velkari, though information was limited. Ryan Foster, a young officer with a brilliant tactical mind, came to Jake with an idea. Sir, we can't match their firepower, but we can be smarter. Hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, make every battle cost them more than they expect. Go on, Jake said, interested. The Velkari have overwhelming force, but they're spread across an entire empire. They probably sent a fleet they think is more than enough to handle us. If we can damage that fleet badly enough, they'll have to think twice about sending another one. Jake nodded. We make the cost of conquering Earth so high that it's not worth it. Exactly, sir. On the 7th day, Jake prepared to deliver humanity's answer. He stood before a camera in Earth Defense Command, wearing his new admiral's uniform. Behind him, he could see through the windows to where Earth's defense fleet was gathering. It wasn't much compared to what they faced, but it was what they had. The transmission was sent on all frequencies, ensuring the Velkari would receive it. Jake took a deep breath and began to speak. Commander Zalthar of the Velkari Empire, this is Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth. We have considered your offer, and this is our response. Earth will not surrender. We will not become vassals to any empire. Our freedom is not negotiable. If you want our world, you'll have to take it by force. But I warn you now, we will fight for every inch of our planet. We will make you pay for every drop of blood you spill. You have conquered species that gave up without a fight. We are not them. We are humanity and we do not kneel. He paused, then added words that would echo across the galaxy in the coming months. Come and take it, the transmission ended. Jake turned to Lisa and the other officers gathered in the command center. Now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, sensors detected the Velkari fleet moving into the solar system. There were 15 ships, each one massive and bristling with weapons. They moved in a perfect formation, confident and unstoppable. The first battle lasted 3 hours and humanity lost badly. 5 of Earth's ships were destroyed in the opening minutes. The Velkari weapons cut through human shields like they weren't even there. Jake watched from the command center as his forces were pushed back again and again. But something strange happened. The humans didn't run. Every ship that was hit fought until the very end, taking pieces of the enemy with them. When the Valkyrie finally pulled back to regroup, they had won, but they had also taken damage. Real damage. We hurt them, Lisa said, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. 3 of their ships have significant hull breaches. 1 is completely disabled. Jake allowed himself a small moment of hope. Get me a full report on what worked and what didn't. We need to learn fast. Over the next week, the pattern repeated. The Valkyrie would attack. Humans would fight back desperately and both sides would take losses. But slowly, something became clear. The Valkyrie were powerful, but they weren't invincible. They made mistakes. They got overconfident. And most importantly, they fought the same way every time. Ryan Foster worked with a team of tactical analysts, studying every second of combat footage. He noticed that the Valkyrie always formed the same battle formations. They always fired their weapons in predictable patterns. They had never needed to be creative because overwhelming force had always been enough. They're not warriors, Ryan explained to Jake during a strategy meeting. They're bullies. There's a difference. A bully expects you to back down. When you don't, they don't know what to do. Can we use that? Jake asked. Ryan smiled. I think we can. I have an idea, but it's risky. The plan was simple but crazy. While the main Valkyrie fleet was attacking Earth's orbital defenses, a small group of human ships would slip around them and attack their supply vessels. The Valkyrie had set up a forward base on one of Jupiter's moons, using it to refuel and rearm. If that base was destroyed, their fleet would be stranded. Captain Nicole Porter volunteered to lead the strike team. She was young but had proven herself brilliant in the opening battles, somehow keeping her ship alive when others were being destroyed around her. Jake met with her privately before the mission. Nicole, I won't lie to you. This is probably a one-way trip, he said. She nodded. I know, sir. But if we can pull this off, we buy Earth more time. That's worth it. Why are you so willing to sacrifice yourself? Jake asked. Nicole thought for a moment. My grandfather used to tell me stories about his grandfather who fought in World War II. He said the greatest generation wasn't great because they wanted to fight. They were great because they fought for something bigger than themselves. I think this is our generation's moment. We either rise to it or we don't. Jake shook her hand. Good luck, Captain. Come back alive if you can. Nicole's strike force left the next day using the chaos of another battle to mask their departure. They traveled fast and quiet, their ships running on minimal power to avoid detection. It took them 2 days to reach Jupiter, and they spent another day watching the Valkyrie base, studying its defenses. The base was guarded by only 2 Valkyrie ships. It made sense. They had never needed heavy defenses before. Who would dare attack them? Nicole felt a grim satisfaction as her team moved into position. All ships, this is Porter. Wait for my signal. When we hit them hard and fast. Don't give them time to call for help. The attack was brutal and efficient. Human missiles slammed into the Valkyrie supply depot before the guards even knew they were under attack. One of the guard ships tried to power up its weapons, but was destroyed by focused fire from 3 human vessels. The second guard ship attempted to flee, but Nicole's ship, the Defiant, cut it off and disabled its engines. Board that ship, Nicole ordered. I want prisoners and I want their communication equipment. Marines led by Sergeant Alex Turner forced their way onto the damaged Valkyrie vessel. The aliens fought back, but they weren't prepared for close combat with humans. Alex and his team moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, stunning aliens with electric weapons and securing key areas. When they reached the bridge, Alex found something interesting. The Valkyrie commander was trying to delete files from the ship's computer. Alex's tech specialist, a young woman named Samantha Brooks, managed to stop the deletion and recover the data. Sarge, you need to see this, Samantha said, her eyes wide. These are communications between the Valkyrie fleet and their homeworld. And there's something else. Maps. Lots of maps showing other species under their control. Alex immediately sent the data back to Nicole's ship. Captain, we've got intelligence. Lots of it. Nicole made a split-second decision. Instead of destroying the captured ship, they would take it with them. Samantha, can you fly this thing? I can try, ma'am. Good enough. Everyone back to your ships. We're going home. The strike force returned to Earth as heroes, bringing with them captured Valkyrie technology and, most importantly, information. Dr. Karen Bishop nearly danced with joy when she saw the data. This is incredible, she said, scrolling through files on her computer. Technical specifications, communication protocols, star charts. Jake, this is exactly what we needed. Karen assembled a team of the brightest scientists on Earth and got to work. They studied the Velkari technology day and night, looking for weaknesses and ways to improve human equipment. What they found was surprising. The Velkari technology is advanced, but it's stagnant, Karen explained at a briefing. They haven't innovated in centuries. Why would they? They've never needed to. But that means we can adapt faster than they can. We can change our tactics, our weapons, everything. They can't. One of Karen's team members, a programmer named Danny Wright, made a breakthrough. I've been analyzing their computer systems. They use artificial intelligence, but it's rigid, programmed for specific tasks and situations. I think I can design an AI that learns and adapts in real time during combat. How long will that take? Jake asked. If I don't sleep? Maybe 3 weeks. You have 2, Jake said. And take naps. I need you sharp. While the scientists worked on technology, Colonel Alex Turner focused on training ground forces. The Velkari would eventually try to land troops on Earth, and when they did, humanity needed to be ready. Alex gathered soldiers from every nation on Earth and trained them in tactics the Velkari would never expect. Guerrilla warfare, ambushes, booby traps, urban combat. The Velkari were used to open battles where superior technology decided the outcome. They weren't prepared for an enemy that would hide, strike, and fade away. Remember, Alex told his troops, the Velkari think they're superior. Use that against them. Let them walk into your traps. Make them afraid of every shadow. Make them understand that even if they win battles, they'll never truly control Earth. Meanwhile, Samantha Brooks was having the time of her life in Earth's orbital shipyards. The captured Velkari ship had given her ideas, and she convinced Jake to let her try something radical. She took civilian ships, freighters, and transports and started converting them into combat vessels. The Velkari expect us to build traditional warships, Samantha explained. So let's not do that. Let's make ships that are fast and weird. Ships that can split apart into smaller units, or combine for heavy attacks. Ships they won't know how to fight against. Jake gave her resources and free rein to experiment. Samantha worked with a team of engineers who thought like she did. People who saw problems as opportunities. They created ships that looked strange and functioned even stranger. But that was the point. The Velkari military mind, so rigid and traditional, wouldn't know how to respond. 2 weeks after Nicole's successful raid, Danny Wright delivered his adaptive AI system. They installed it on 10 ships as a test, and the results were immediate. In the next battle, those 10 ships performed far better than their identical counterparts without the AI. The system learned from every enemy attack, adapting shields and weapons in real time. It's working, Danny said, watching the combat data stream in. The AI is learning faster than the Velkari can adjust. By the end of each battle, our ships are actually matching theirs in effectiveness. Can you install this on all our ships? Jake asked. It'll take time, but yes. Make it happen. Lisa, I want you to work with Nicole on planning more raids. We can't just defend. We need to keep hitting them where they don't expect it. Lisa and Nicole became a formidable team. They studied the Velkari fleet movements and found patterns. The aliens were predictable, always doing things the same way. Lisa would identify targets and Nicole would figure out how to hit them. Their next target was a Velkari communication relay the aliens had set up on Mars. If they destroyed it, the Velkari fleet would have trouble coordinating their attacks. Nicole took her strike force, now veterans of multiple raids, and they approached Mars using an asteroid field for cover. The attack went perfectly. The relay was destroyed before the Velkari could respond. But Nicole made a decision that would change the war. Instead of running immediately, she broadcast a message. Attention, Velkari Empire. This is Captain Nicole Porter of Earth. We have destroyed your communication relay. We have captured your ships. We have studied your tactics and found them wanting. You claim to be superior, but you bleed just like we do. You came to our home expecting. 3 months into the war, Earth was still standing. That simple fact shocked the galaxy. Species across the Velkari Empire whispered about the humans who refused to die. Some called them crazy. Others called them brave. Everyone called them unexpected. Jake stood in Earth Defense Command looking at casualty reports. The numbers were bad. 20 million humans dead, 6 major cities heavily damaged, half of Earth's defense fleet destroyed. But the Velkari had lost more. Their invasion force was down to 8 ships and their ground troops were spread thin across a planet that fought them at every turn. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. Lisa said from her station. It's not from the Valkyrie. The signature is different. Put it through. The screen showed an alien unlike any they had seen before. This one was small with smooth blue skin and large eyes. It looked nervous, constantly glancing to the side as if worried about being caught. Humans of Earth, the alien said in heavily accented English. My name is Kalor. I am from a species called the Thrin. We have been subjects of the Valkyrie Empire for 400 years. I risked my life sending this message, but I had to contact you. What you are doing, your resistance, it has given hope to many who had forgotten what hope felt like. Jake leaned forward. Kalor, why are you contacting us? Because I want you to know you are not alone. There are 3 species in the Empire who have been speaking in secret. We are tired of being slaves. Your fight has shown us that the Valkyrie can be resisted. We do not have your courage yet, but we are working toward it. Please keep fighting. Even if you fall, you have already changed the galaxy. The transmission ended abruptly. Jake stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. He turned to Lisa. Did we record that? Every second of it. Send it to every database we have. Make copies. I want this message preserved. And Lisa? Find a way to respond. If there are species willing to stand up to the Valkyrie, we need to encourage them. Ambassador Patricia Lang took on the task of making contact with potential allies. She was a diplomat who had spent her career bringing enemies together. Now she worked to inspire rebellion across an alien empire. Using the captured Valkyrie communication codes, she managed to send messages to the 3 species Kalor had mentioned. The responses came slowly, cautiously. The Thrin, the Kel, and the Dravix had all been conquered by the Valkyrie long ago. They had accepted their fate, seeing no alternative. But now, hearing about humanity's resistance, they began to think differently. We can help you, Patricia told them during a secret communication. Send us information about the Valkyrie. Military positions, supply routes, anything that can help us fight more effectively. In return, we will show you that resistance is possible. The information they received was invaluable. Jake learned that the Valkyrie fleet attacking Earth was just a small part of their total military. The Empire had to keep most of its forces spread across their territory to maintain control. If those subject species started rebelling, the Valkyrie would have to pull ships away from Earth to deal with the uprisings. We need to make that happen, Jake said to his commanders. We need to inspire these species to act. Colonel Alex Turner had an idea. We've been broadcasting our victories, but we've been focusing on military channels. What if we broadcast directly to the civilian populations on Valkyrie-controlled worlds? Show them real footage of humans fighting. Let them see that the Empire can be challenged. Nicole Porter added, I can deliver the message. We've captured enough Valkyrie communication equipment to hijack their broadcasts. We hit a relay station, plug in our message, and it goes out across their entire network before they can stop it. It was dangerous and might not work, but Jake approved the mission. Nicole assembled her team and they left Earth 3 days later. Their target was a major Valkyrie communication hub in the Centauri system. The journey took a week, and they used that time to prepare. Samantha Brooks had outfitted Nicole's ship with the latest technology, including the adaptive AI that Danny Wright had developed. The ship could think and react faster than any Valkyrie vessel. When they reached Centauri, they found the communication hub guarded by 3 Valkyrie warships. Nicole studied the enemy positions for hours, looking for a weakness. She found it. The guards changed shifts every 12 hours, and for 5 minutes during the change, their coordination was sloppy. That's our window, Nicole told her crew. 5 minutes to get in, deliver the package, and get out. Samantha, can you hook up our broadcast in 5 minutes? Samantha looked at the technical specifications of the Valkyrie hub. If everything goes perfectly? Maybe. If one thing goes wrong, we're dead. I'll take those odds. The attack went almost perfectly. Nicole's ship streaked past the guards during shift change, moving too fast for them to react in time. They latched onto the communication hub and Samantha ran out with her equipment, the vacuum of space held back only by her suit. She worked like her life depended on it. Because it did. The Valkyrie guards were turning around, powering up weapons starting to move toward them. Samantha's fingers flew across the alien controls, bypassing security, finding the main transmission system, plugging in the human broadcast. Done, she yelled, diving back into the ship. Nicole didn't wait. She fired the engines and the ship shot away from the hub, just as the first Valkyrie weapons fired. The shots missed barely. As they fled, Nicole hit the button that activated the broadcast. Across the Velkari Empire, on thousands of screens and displays, the regular programming suddenly cut out. It was replaced by images of Earth. Images of humans fighting. A human soldier standing on a pile of rubble, helping a wounded comrade. A human pilot diving their damaged ship into a Velkari cruiser to save others. Human children rebuilding their schools even as the war raged on. And then Jake Morrison appeared, speaking directly to the camera. "People of the galaxy," Jake said. "My name is Admiral Jake Morrison. I speak to you from Earth, a planet under attack by the Velkari Empire. They came to our world and told us to surrender or die. We chose neither. We chose to fight, not because we want war, but because freedom is worth fighting for. We are losing this war. We may die, but we will die free. To those of you watching who live under Velkari rule, I say this. You are not powerless. You are not worthless. The Velkari conquered you because you believed you couldn't win. But belief can change. If we can resist them, so can you. Rise up, stand together. Show the galaxy that tyranny will not be tolerated anymore. We are humanity, and we stand with all who seek freedom." The message played for 10 minutes before the Velkari managed to shut it down. But 10 minutes was enough. The broadcast had reached billions across the empire. Most dismissed it or were too afraid to act. But some, a small percentage, felt something stir inside them, something that had been sleeping for a long time. Hope. Kellor watched the broadcast from his home on the Thrin homeworld. He had spent his entire life under Velkari rule, accepting it as the natural order of things. But seeing Jake's words, seeing humans actually winning battles against their oppressors, something changed. He contacted the resistance group he was part of, a small collection of Thrin who dreamed of freedom. "It is time," Kellor told them. "We must act. If we wait for the perfect moment, it will never come. The humans are showing us the way. We must follow." The Thrin rebellion began small. A sabotage power plant here, a destroyed supply depot there. Nothing major, but enough to make the Velkari nervous. When the Velkari sent troops to crush the resistance, they found something unexpected. The Thrin were fighting back. Not surrendering. Not running. Fighting. The Kel and Dravik saw what the Thrin were doing and started their own small acts of rebellion. It wasn't much, not at first. But it was something. And the Velkari Empire, which had been stable for 10,000 years, began to feel the first cracks in its foundation. Back on Earth, the ground war continued. Alex Turner's forces had become experts at urban combat, turning every city into a nightmare for the Velkari invaders. But Alex knew they couldn't keep it up forever. His soldiers were exhausted, running low on supplies and taking casualties they couldn't replace. "We need to push them back," Alex told Jake during a strategy meeting. "We're bleeding them, but we're bleeding too. If this continues, they'll outlast us through sheer numbers." Lieutenant Eric Shaw, one of Earth's best pilots, spoke up. "What if we take the fight to their landing zones? They're using areas outside the cities as staging grounds. If we hit those, we cut off their reinforcements." "That's suicide," someone said. "Those zones are heavily defended." Eric shrugged. "This whole war is suicide. At least this way we choose where we die." Jake considered the plan. It was risky, but all their plans were risky. "Do it. Hit their staging grounds with everything we have." "Alex, coordinate with Eric. I want this to be a combined air and ground assault. Make it hurt." The assault on the Velkari staging grounds was the largest offensive operation humanity had attempted since the war began. Eric led a squadron of 20 fighters, all equipped with the adaptive AI and armed with the best weapons Earth could produce. Behind them came dropships carrying Alex's ground troops. The Velkari defenders were ready, their weapons tracking the incoming humans. But Eric's squadron used tactics the aliens had never seen. The Battle of Earth Defense Command would be remembered as the turning point of the war. Jake knew the Velkari were coming with everything they had left. 8 warships, thousands of ground troops, and the desperation of an empire that had never lost before. He prepared accordingly. Every human ship in the solar system was recalled to Earth orbit. Civilian vessels, military cruisers, experimental craft that Samantha had been building, everything that could fly and fight. Jake positioned them in defensive formations around the command center, but he also had a surprise waiting. "Sir, Velkari fleet incoming," Lisa reported. "They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Jake activated the command channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Today we end this. Today we show the Velkari that Earth cannot be broken. Hold your positions until my command." The Velkari fleet approached in their usual perfect formation, confident despite their losses. Commander Zalthar commanded from the lead ship, determined to finish this war personally. He looked at the human defenses and smiled. They had gathered their remaining forces to protect their command center. Predictable. Once that center was destroyed, human resistance would crumble. All ships, open fire, Zalthar ordered. The Velkari unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that lit up the space around Earth. Human shields flared and failed. 3 ships were destroyed in the first minute. It looked like the Velkari were going to win easily, just as they always had. Then Jake sprang his trap. "Now!" he yelled. From behind the moon, a second human fleet appeared. These ships had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment. They were led by Nicole Porter in her ship, the Defiant, now upgraded with captured Velkari technology and human innovations. The new fleet hit the Velkari from behind, catching them completely off guard. At the same time, Danny Wright activated a program he had spent weeks developing. The adaptive AI on human ships suddenly synchronized, working together as one massive intelligence. The ships moved in perfect coordination, far better than the rigid Velkari formations. They flowed like water around the enemy, striking weak points and pulling back before the Velkari could respond. Eric Shaw led his fighter squadron into the chaos, targeting the Velkari command ship. His pilots flew with a skill born from months of desperate combat. They had learned to think like their AI partners, acting on instinct and innovation rather than predetermined tactics. "Focus fire on the command ship's engines," Eric ordered. "Take away their ability to maneuver." The fighters swarmed the massive Velkari vessel like angry insects, their weapons pecking away at its defenses. Slowly, painfully, they started to get through. An engine exploded, then another. The command ship began to list to one side. On the bridge, Zalthar felt his perfect plan falling apart. How were these humans doing this? They should have been destroyed by now. They were outmatched in every way. Yet here they were, actually winning. "Sir, we need to retreat," Kravik said. "We've lost 3 ships. The rest are heavily damaged. If we stay, we'll be annihilated." Zalthar's pride warred with his survival instinct. His entire career, his entire species, had been built on the idea of Velkari superiority. To retreat from humans was unthinkable, but to die here would be worse. "All ships withdraw," he said, the words tasting like poison. The Velkari fleet tried to pull back, but Jake wasn't going to let them escape easily. "All ships pursue. Hit them as they run. Make them pay for every foot of space." The retreat turned into a rout. By the time the Velkari jumped away to safety, they had lost 5 ships. Only 3 made it out, all heavily damaged. The invasion force that had come to conquer Earth was broken. In Earth Defense Command, Jake's staff erupted in cheers. They had done it. They had actually beaten the Velkari in a straight fight. Lisa hugged Jake, tears streaming down her face. "We won. Jake, we actually won." But Jake knew this was just one battle. The Velkari Empire was vast, and Earth had used almost everything they had in this victory. "Contact all commands," he said. "I want damage reports and status updates. The war isn't over yet." Across the galaxy, the news of the Velkari defeat spread like wildfire. The species that Kalor had contacted saw proof that rebellion could succeed. The Thrin uprising, which had been small and scattered, suddenly grew bolder. They attacked Velkari facilities openly, destroying equipment and freeing prisoners. The Kel, who had been planning cautiously for weeks, finally acted. They sabotaged the main shipyard where Velkari warships were built, setting back the Empire's military production by months. Velkari troops rushed to the Kel homeworld to restore order, but they found an entire population ready to resist. The Draviks, inspired by both the humans and their fellow rebels, declared independence. They seized control of their planet's orbital defenses and told the Velkari to leave. When Velkari ships arrived to crush the rebellion, they found the Draviks had been preparing for this moment. They had weapons, tactics, and most importantly, the will to fight. The Velkari Empire, which had been stable for 10,000 years, suddenly faced 3 major rebellions in the ongoing war with Earth. Their forces were stretched thin. Ships that should have been sent to finish off humanity were instead diverted to deal with uprisings across the Empire. Ambassador Patricia Lang worked tirelessly to coordinate with the rebel species. She established communication networks, shared intelligence, and offered advice based on humanity's experience fighting the Velkari. She became known as the voice of freedom, inspiring beings across the galaxy to stand up for themselves. On Earth, the victory celebrations were brief. Everyone knew the Velkari would be back, but something had changed. For the first time, humans believed they could actually win this war, not just survive it, win it. Colonel Alex Turner used the breathing room to reorganize ground defenses. His soldiers had proven themselves against the Velkari, but they were exhausted. He rotated fresh troops in and sent veterans to train new recruits. He also began planning offensive operations. "We can't wait for them to attack again," Alex told Jake. "We need to take the fight to them. Hit their bases, their supply lines, anything that keeps them from rebuilding." Jake agreed. "Nicole, I want you to put together a strike force. Multiple teams this time. We're going to hit Velkari positions all across the system. Keep them off balance." Nicole assembled 6 teams, each led by experienced commanders. They planned simultaneous attacks on Velkari forward bases, supply depots, and communication stations. The goal wasn't just to cause damage, but to make the Velkari afraid, to show them that nowhere was safe. The raids began 2 weeks after the Battle of Earth Defense Command. Human ships appeared without warning at Velkari positions, struck hard, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The Velkari, used to being the attackers, struggled to defend their scattered holdings. One team, led by Captain Brad Cooper, discovered something important during a raid on a Velkari supply depot. They found evidence that the Velkari were having trouble getting resources from their home territory. The rebellions were disrupting their supply chains. "They're running out of stuff," Brad reported to Jake. "Fuel, ammunition, replacement parts. The Empire is having to choose where to send resources, and we're not their priority anymore." Jake realized the implications immediately. "They're abandoning us." "Not completely, but they're pulling back. They can't fight a war on multiple fronts, and we've made ourselves too expensive to beat." Dr. Karen Bishop had been continuing her research into Velkari technology. She made a breakthrough that changed everything.
"Jake, I've figured out how their long-range communication works."
"More importantly, I think I can disrupt it. If we build a device based on this principle and deploy it in the right location, we could cut off the entire Velkari fleet in this region from their command structure." "How long would the disruption last?" Jake asked. "Could be hours, could be days, but even a few hours would be enough to cause chaos in their ranks. Without orders, without coordination, they'd be vulnerable." "Build it," Jake ordered, "and think big. I don't want to just disrupt their communications. I want to destroy their ability to coordinate across the entire sector." Karen and her team worked around the clock. They built a device that would generate a field, disrupting the specific type of quantum entanglement the Velkari used for instant communication. It was experimental and might not work, but it was worth trying. The plan was to deliver the device to the center of the Velkari communication network in the solar system, a relay station they had established on one of Saturn's moons. Nicole volunteered to lead the mission personally. "I'm getting tired of these suicide missions," she joked to Jake before leaving. "Next time I'm asking for hazard pay. Win this war and you'll never have to pay for a drink again," Jake replied. Nicole's team approached Saturn carefully. The relay station was heavily guarded after the previous raids, but they had a new advantage. Samantha had finished building her prototype multi-form ship, a vessel that could separate into 3 smaller craft and recombine at will. The Velkari had never seen anything like it. They approached as a single ship, drawing the attention of the Velkari defenders. Then at the last moment they split into 3 parts. The defenders, programmed to track and fire at the main ship, became confused when that ship suddenly became 3 targets moving in. 2 months after driving the Velkari from Earth's solar system, Jake Morrison received a transmission that would change the course of the war. It came from Kaylor, the Thrinn who had first contacted humanity. "Admiral Morrison," Kaylor said, his voice stronger and more confident than before. "The Thrinn people have declared full independence from the Velkari Empire. We control our homeworld and 3 nearby systems. But we cannot hold them alone. The Velkari are sending a fleet to crush us just as they tried to crush you. We need your help." Jake looked at his advisors. Earth had spent the last 2 months rebuilding, recovering from the devastation of war. His people were tired. His fleet was still being repaired. But he knew what his answer had to be. "We'll come," Jake said. "Earth doesn't abandon its allies." President Helen Carter addressed the planet that evening. People of Earth, we have been asked to help others achieve the freedom we fought so hard to win. I know you are tired. I know you want peace. But if we don't help the Thrinn, they will be destroyed. And the message will be clear. Resistance is futile. We cannot let that happen. We must stand together with all who seek freedom. The response from Earth's population surprised even Jake. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Engineers worked double shifts to repair ships faster. Scientists shared their latest innovations. Humanity, having won its own freedom, was determined to help others win theirs. Nicole Porter assembled a fleet of 20 ships, the best that Earth could send. They were a mix of military vessels and converted civilian craft, all upgraded with the latest technology. Danny Wright's adaptive AI was installed on every ship. Samantha's innovative designs made them unpredictable and deadly. The journey to Thrinn space took 3 weeks. When they arrived, they found the Thrinn already engaged in a desperate battle. The Velkari had sent 15 warships to crush the rebellion, and the Thrinn's small defense force was being overwhelmed. All ships, engage the enemy, Jake ordered. Show them that Earth stands with the Thrinn. The human fleet hit the Velkari from the side, catching them off guard. The aliens had been so focused on the Thrinn that they hadn't detected Earth's approach. Eric Shaw led his fighters in first, targeting the Velkari command ship's communications array. If the Velkari couldn't coordinate, they couldn't fight effectively. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Velkari, experienced but rigid in their tactics, struggled against the combined force of humans and Thrinn fighting side by side. The Thrinn, inspired by humanity's presence, fought with renewed determination. They no longer fought alone. When it was over, the Velkari fleet had been destroyed. Only 2 ships escaped, badly damaged and fleeing for their lives. The Thrinn homeworld was saved. Kellor met Jake in person for the first time coming aboard the human flagship. The small blue alien looked up at the tall human admiral with tears in his large eyes. You came. You actually came. We thought we would die today, but you saved us. Jake shook Kellor's hand, or the alien equivalent. We know what it's like to stand alone against the Velkari. No one should have to face that. We're in this together now. News of the human intervention spread across the galaxy. The Kel and Dravix, who had been fighting their own battles, suddenly found human advisors and supplies arriving to help them. Patricia Lang worked to establish formal alliances, creating a network of free species committed to helping each other. The Velkari Empire was in crisis. They had never faced simultaneous rebellions before. Their forces, spread thin across hundreds of worlds, couldn't respond to threats everywhere at once. For the first time in their history, the Velkari were losing control. On the Velkari homeworld, the Emperor called an emergency meeting of his high command. How did this happen? He demanded. We are the Velkari. We have ruled for 10,000 years. How can we be losing to these primitive species? Commander Zalthar, who had retreated to the homeworld after his defeat at Earth, spoke carefully. Great Emperor, we made assumptions. We assumed our technology would always be superior. We assumed our enemies would always surrender. We assumed wrong. The humans taught the galaxy a lesson we never wanted them to learn, that we can be beaten. Then we will show them the price of rebellion. The Emperor snarled. Gather our remaining fleets. We will go to the human homeworld and burn it to ashes. The other species will see what happens to those who defy us, and they will submit again. But Kravix, Zalthar's second in command, had been thinking, Great Emperor, perhaps there is another way. The humans fight for freedom. The rebellious species fight for independence. What if we gave it to them? The room fell silent. The idea of the Velkari willingly giving up control was unthinkable. But Kravix continued, We cannot win this war. Not as it is being fought now. Every battle costs us ships we cannot replace fast enough. Every defeat inspires more rebellions. But if we offer peace, if we recognize their independence, we save what remains of the Empire. Never, the Emperor said. We will fight until we win. But not everyone agreed. There were Velkari who were tired of the war, who saw that their empire was crumbling and wanted to save what they could. They began to meet in secret, planning a different future. Meanwhile, Jake was coordinating the resistance across multiple star systems. Earth had become the center of a growing alliance of free species. The Thrinn, Kel, and Dravix had all sent representatives to Earth, and together they formed what they called the Coalition of Free Worlds. We need to end this war, Jake told the coalition leaders. Not by conquest, but by making the Velkari understand that their empire is over. We need to hit them where it matters most. Their homeworld. The idea was audacious and dangerous. The Velkari homeworld was the heart of the empire, defended by massive fleets and orbital weapons. But Jake had a plan. We don't attack to destroy, he explained. We attack to demonstrate. We show them we can reach their homeworld, that nowhere is safe for them either. Then we offer peace. Real peace. Independence for all species, equal partnership instead of domination. Colonel Alex Turner had been working with Thrin ground forces, training them in the tactics that had worked so well on Earth. If we're going to their homeworld, we should be ready to land troops. Not to conquer, but to protect civilians. From what Patricia has learned, there are Velkari who want peace. We might need to help them. The Coalition assembled the largest fleet ever seen in the galaxy. 50 ships from Earth, 30 from the Thrin worlds, 20 from the Kel, and 15 from the Dravix. It wasn't large compared to the total Velkari military, but it was enough to make a statement. The journey to the Velkari homeworld took a month. During that time, Jake received an unexpected message. It came from a Velkari officer named Tarvek, one of the dissidents who wanted peace. Admiral Morrison, Tarvek said, there are many Velkari who no longer support this war. We see our empire crumbling and we want it to end. When you arrive at our homeworld, you will face the Emperor's fleet. But know that not all Velkari will fight you. Some of us are working to change our government from within. Give us time. Give us a chance to make things right. Jake discussed this with his commanders. Nicole was skeptical. It could be a trap. It could be, Jake admitted. But it could also be a chance to end this war without more bloodshed. We came to fight for freedom, not to destroy the Velkari people. If some of them want peace, we should give them a chance. When the Coalition fleet arrived at the Velkari homeworld, they found exactly what Tarvek had described. The Emperor's loyalist fleet moved to intercept them, but it was smaller than expected. Many Velkari ships had remained in port, their crews refusing to fight. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth. Jake broadcast on all frequencies. We come not as conquerors, but as liberators. We seek peace and equality among all species. To the Velkari people we say this, your empire is over, but your species need not end. Join us in building something better. A galaxy where all species are equal, where freedom is the right of every being, where cooperation replaces domination. The Loyalist fleet opened fire. The battle that followed was fierce but shorter than expected. The Velkari ships fought with desperation, but they were outnumbered and their tactics were outdated. The Coalition forces working together seamlessly overwhelmed them, but Jake had given strict orders. Disable their ships when possible. We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to end a war. As the battle raged in space, something else was happening on the Velkari homeworld. Tarvek and his fellow dissidents had been preparing for this moment. When it became clear that the Coalition fleet was winning, they moved against the Emperor. It wasn't a violent coup. The Emperor, seeing his fleet destroyed and his own people turning against him, finally accepted reality. He stepped down and a new Velkari government was formed, one that wanted peace. Alex Turner led a force down to the planet's surface, not to attack but to secure key locations and protect civilians from any loyalists who might try to fight on. What he found surprised him. Regular Velkari people who just wanted the war to end. Families who had been living in fear of their own government. Young Velkari who had never wanted an empire. We're not monsters. A young Velkari named Velik told Alex. We were born into this system. We didn't choose it. Please give us a chance to be better. Alex looked at the young alien and saw something familiar,